Hello world. Patricia, O'Connor, and Frida, Reba, Darcy here. Today on the Bonsai balcony, we have ourselves one beautiful day. It is quite warm up here. It's probably mid 70s. My thermometer leaning a little past 80. I think that's because it's a white piece of plastic in direct sunlight. I don't think it's really 90 degrees up here. In fact, I know it's not 90 degrees up here. I'm winter hardy. Currently, if it were 90 degrees on the floor up here, I'd be laid out there on the floor, probably next to Frida. But today on the balcony, it's a beautiful, beautiful, warm, sunny, blue day. We are expecting another batch of weather to come rolling through here in a few days, and we're going to see quite a bit more rain with that. That's okay. That's all right. We know what we're in for. Meanwhile, here with these temperatures, starting about 2 weeks ago, it wasn't as warm as all this, but our rain went from rainy and cold to rainy and 60. Come here, Frida. Come here. Rainy and 60. So while it still wasn't, and a little breezy, but not overly breezy, nothing I had to worry about. We were looking at like at 15-mile-an-hour winds as opposed to some of that really high stuff we had earlier. All of that says spring, you know. I mean, just because we don't have our beach towels and our sunglasses in hand and are heading to the pool, that doesn't mean that the trees don't notice that things are, in fact, lightening up for them. And to that end, there's that word again, and to that end, I've already got this cypress tree, took the initiative to be the first one of the lot to start budding out. This guy is next. It's got buds that have already broken the surface, and green is starting to show. I didn't see that when I got up this morning, but looking at those buds the first thing this morning, I thought, before this weekend is out, those little nodules that are swelling up so big will be green. And sometimes all that really means is that you haven't seen the green one yet. It's there, you just haven't noticed it, because quite often, and I've noticed this quite often is the case, the first time you see a little green shoot on your tree, you stop and go, oh wow, cool, there's a green shoot there. And then you start looking over the tree and you see that that's not the only one. So they have to like say, hey, I'm over here, we're doing stuff, or you're not even noticing. This one is already starting to show me green now that I see. That's green. That's green. Like I said, by the end of the weekend, this guy is going to start showing me leaf matter. And this guy has got raised little nodules on it too. Probably the same can be said. Today's Saturday. I would say by Monday morning, I would bet the bumps that are on these little guys that are coming up so big and are just round, you know, it's gone from little goosebump looking things to actually like little baseballs under a towel or something. You can see something is breaking through. It's breaking right through the surface there. So that's what's going on with our American cypress trees. That's what's going on with our trident maple and our Kodaheim maple. Meanwhile, my pines are greening up more and more, and they are beginning to uptake more water. So this is the part where somebody who knows me would lean in and go, but, you know, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, this is like, we're a week away from March. Just put it that way. We're a week away from the beginning of March. All of March could produce a frost. Half of April traditionally could produce a frost. And that's just if we stay seasonal. I'm going to give these to Frida. And that's just if we stay seasonal. We could probably go even later in the game and have something a little bit more anomaly, like goodness knows the amount of rain that we've gotten the last couple of years has been has been like something we haven't seen in quite a long time. We've had lakes that have been extinct since the 60s and 70s and 50s and stuff that are now back, and water management people say, yeah, those aren't going away. They're back, and that's just the way that is. So I don't know that that's a bad thing. Maybe those dried up lake beds were a reflection of the harm we were doing then, and maybe this is still a reflection of the harm we're doing now. It's caused it to come full circle, and we're going to head into something else. But hopefully we're learning. Hopefully we're getting better. I know as a person, I am not the big carbon producer I used to be. Without, I'm not, I'm not all gung-ho about it. I've probably still got quite a bit of work to do, but I know on a personal note, I'm a lot more conscientious about what I'm leaving behind than, and I'd always been like the good scout, leave it cleaner than you found it, kind of a motto. So that's got us here at spring. I am also, speaking of things budding out, we did some work last fall on this Dawn Redwood, and because I had restyled a few things on here, it budded out, and those buds can still be seen here. It budded out going into fall, which meant at some point, probably that 90-degree fall day, I believe killed those buds on the vine. They stopped in their tracks, and I didn't mess with them. I didn't mess with them at all. They're still there. But the thing is, that kind of makes it hard to notice, except this morning, I kind of noticed that the number of buds that were here had actually doubled or tripled. So some of these, a lot of these, are new buds, and it too is just a few seconds away from showing us some nice green colors, and we'll be ready to take off with this guy. I'll be glad to see what spring can bring us when it comes to my Dawn Redwood. Last year, as you can see, we did some of this stuff here. This is going to be our new leader, and I'm going to try to carve some of these big, huge, bulbous knots back to something that will roll over a little nicer. Once I get some options from them that I could use as limbs, I'm going to carve all the rest of the knot there away to something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. If not immediately, then in a little while, when, like I said, when that heals over. We're also seeing a lot of buds on our wisteria, both the Japanese wisteria that I have here. I'm not seeing as much on the Chinese sinensis wisteria. Every year it's weeks or behind, some amount behind my other wisterias. But I also have a few wisterias over here in large planter pots that I'm letting a clump of them grow out for either color or flowers or for future projects or I don't know what. It just got thrown on the back burner when I first got into this and was no longer decorative. Somebody said in the comments last week, they said, I want to see you put a couch or a chair on your balcony, Patricia, so that you can sit in your garden and enjoy your garden the way that I sit in my garden and enjoy my garden. We started off that way. I don't know if those videos still exist, because something I learned when I started this is I was watching how to get started in YouTube videos, and the first thing the teacher said was, do 25 videos. Don't, everything that's holding you back, forget that crap, do 25 bad videos, and then come back and see me. And after 25 videos, they went, delete those 25 videos. Now you've got enough going on now that you can start and focus on this, this, and this. So that's kind of how we did it. And to that end, when I first started this, there was a day bed right here, and it allowed me a view of the night sky. I don't shoot at night for obvious reasons, but because what I would want to show you is my night sky. And I didn't really bonsai so much. It kind of feels like it, but it didn't really bonsai so much. My night sky is full of stars and usually some air traffic. I can usually see 2 or 3 jets crisscrossing on their way to either Oakland Airport or SFO, which are both that way, several that way and that way, several miles. So somebody circling can probably wave at the other guy circling at the other airport while they're doing it. So there's a little bit of air traffic, but there's also beautiful, beautiful stars. And it was, I'd even at one point contemplated a telescope. You know, I thought we could put a telescope right here. I could look at whatever this south-facing balcony faces me, and those stars are beautiful. And then, with my decorating, my little oasis up here, I put that little wisteria in a bonsai pot, but not the one you see now. Like a true rookie, I put a stick in an oversized, kind of expensive bonsai pot, which was okay because I was later going to break that pot anyway. After that, that's a cheap molded Japanese clay pot. It wasn't spun, it was popped out of a mold and glazed white. Actually kind of cute, and I think it goes well with that wisteria. But with that wisteria right there being originally a part of decorating, like this clump that I originally started the conversation with, they were just to help me decorate my patio so that it would look like someplace Buddha would park his fat butt and contemplate the stars. That was the whole point to it. My whole decorating style in here is something that I would call Silk Road brothel. Just, you know, old iron day beds, old artwork, old Buddhas, old temple things like this and that, and a mix match without saying really anything definitive. But as soon as I started with that wisteria, as soon as I went to YouTube and typed in wisteria bonsai, I was shown so many wisteria bonsai choices. I saw a purple wisteria that came from England, where an old gentleman had took it to the big bonsai show in Japan and won everything. That was amazing. I would later learn that the tree kind of had it going on because the guy was able to bring it to the Kokofu show blooming. So in other words, he was really on his game to time that tree's stuff. And it was a big, thick trunk, twisted wisteria. And it said bonsai to me, and I would not contradict that today. I would stay, if I saw that tree or resaw that video, I would still say, yeah, that was worth the price of admission. But that's part of what got me hooked to bonsai. And to that end, I went from wisteria to maples to oaks. The first couple of trees I acquired, I learned early in that my clone in a pot was kind of a stick in a pot, or maybe in the world of bonsai, it was closer to some people's interpretation of bonsai to a topiary than a bonsai. And I went, okay, fine. I'll just keep my stick in a pot until it becomes bonsai and less topiary. Meanwhile, we're going to go to a bonsai store and we're going to buy ourselves a real bonsai tree. We're going to flip open the page that says bonsai trees, pick out something that we can afford, plunk down a credit card number, and wait for our first real and true bonsai tree to show up at the door. Enter the trident maple. The trident maple, when I got it, when I looked at it in the picture, had an impressive trunk, was in a pretty pot, was nicely wired, and its branches were all in an order, and you couldn't quite see the apex, the very tip of the apex. Although your mind's eye said it was making a nice one in your mind's eye because you could see everything coming to this, but you couldn't really see that real apex. And there was a lot of foliage, like a tree's version of a comb over when upstairs was not something you wanted to show off to the rest of the world. This tree was cut off like you took a saw and cut off the end of a broomstick. It was a broomstick this long with dawn redwood branches on it. And I looked at that and I laughed. I sort of expected that. I knew that it was kind of like thumbing to the end of a comic book and buying x-ray glasses. I knew that something about that was going to be a little too good to be true. And expecting that going in, I wasn't horribly disappointed. I realized it wasn't exactly cheap, but it wasn't exactly pedigree bonsai dollars either. And for the money, it was a starter bonsai. I was expected to turn this blunt, flat saw cut, literally a flat, blunt saw cut. I was the one that was expected to turn that into an apex. They did a lot of the work for me, and they brought the tree along for a couple of years, and that's what you're paid for. I paid for a thick trunk and a bonsai pot that at the time I didn't understand. I was just learning that conifers typically get unglazed pots. Evergreens typically get unglazed pots. This guy's not an evergreen, so it's got a pot that's sort of in the shape of some of my unglazed pots, but it's glazed blue. It's not an expensive pot. When you buy trees from bonsai nurseries, they're grown greenhouses, sections of greenhouses at a time. There'll be a whole table full of little pints like that, followed by a table next to it with those guys last year, followed by a table next to it with those guys back to 5 years ago. And at some point they went through and started wiring all of them. And they just keep bringing this fleet of trees forward. And at some point they start selling some of those trees out of it, depending on whether or not you want something that's fairly new at the game but has a 2-year jump that costs X. If you want one a year from now, after they've been growing it for 3 years, that costs X. If you want one after 4, X plus. So yeah, this was probably a 4 or 5 year old dawn redwood, and that's what I was paid for. I'm still seeing more green spots on this big bald cypress as I'm discussing. I can't like take my eyes off of it, but to me, nothing makes this balcony look beautiful like seeing these 3 trees and these 4 tops come out in full. That's a good little lead in today to another absolutely beautiful day on the balcony. A lot of times in winter, I go out on my balcony every single day. It could be raining out here, and I can go, nothing needed watering yesterday, and it has not stopped raining since the day before yesterday. I don't have to go out there and water if I don't want to. I can stand right there at the patio door and clearly see who does and who does not need a little agua. But at that same point, I'm their keeper. I pretend that they have, I pretend in my mind that they're aware. I pretend they know they're thirsty. I pretend they know they're overheating. I pretend they're emotional about it the same way I would be. Lest I get relaxed about their state, I don't ever want to pretend that something doesn't feel it when it isn't going well. And it's my job to try to make sure it goes well. So when I'm out here most of the time, I'm doing just what you see right now. I'm looking at my guys, laying my hands upon the trees, whether I should or not. And this guy's looking really good, by the way. It looks very, very healthy. Um, but even on the cloudy days, even when I'm to come out here means I'm kind of standing in the rain a little bit. This is what I do, and this is how I enjoy my balcony. I at some point somebody I was showing off the balcony, and I started doing a couple of little bonsai videos, and I talked about what I had done to my wisteria. I may have made this 18 tree Kodahan maple forest was one of our first projects, and one of the first people that wrote in said, "Get rid of that daybed and get more trees." And I laughed at that. Because I was thinking to myself, the point in the bonsai trees was to have something nice and peaceful and zen-like while I was in the daybed. I've since then moved the daybed, the bright yellow daybed, French, that's just inside the door. That came from originally Paris. I found it online. It came from an antique shop in Grand Prairie, Louisiana, and yeah, and that would have been my place to sit here. It went inside to make room for more trees, and frankly, I couldn't be happier. I can still see the stars from my couch in there in my so-called living room. I say so-called because when you walk in the front door of my house, you're in my living room, you're in my bedroom, you're not in my closet, and you're not in my bathroom. That's the only thing good I can say about it. The flip side to that is you are in my kitchen, you are in my bedroom, and you are in my living room. I live in a flat, but then I'm able to keep up with the flat without it overrunning me. I'm just one girl. I'm not a team or a part of a couple. You work on this and I'll work on that kind of a thing. Whatever I do, I have to do here. And I love that it's small enough that it can reflect my personality. And right now, if you look at this, you would say that Pat is an eclectic collector and a bit of a pig. Yeah, that's kind of the way it gets in the winter. In spring, I do get more gumptious. I dust more, I vacuum more. I crack the whip on Hogging, my little vacuumer, my robotic vacuum. So we are about to get ready to start repotting a few things as that comes available. I'm looking forward to that very much. I am still promising to do a little bit more wiring to my cork bark 75-year-old Japanese black pine. Meanwhile, I promise to show you guys who are still looking at snow, we're still listening to the wind howl. I promise to show you every bud that breaks out here on the balcony, every blue sky, and every wag of a sunny dog's tail. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Tonight we are going to attempt our live cast. It's Saturday night. We're going to call it Saturday Night Live Bonsai as opposed to Saturday Night Live Dead Bonsai. A blatant, obvious ripoff of Saturday Night Live that I probably haven't watched a full episode of in years. But that doesn't keep me from stealing from them. Anyway, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Tonight we will go live. I had been saying that I would bring in this guy and we could start off live with it. That still sounds like a good idea to me, unless I have some other harebrained idea between now and then. And I appreciate you, and Frida appreciates you, and thank you so much for watching. Here, check out this little guy.